Hi, I'm Brian, and this is my recording for Module 16. Steffi and I did do this through the web conference thing, and as I pushed the button, it said it was recording, and we went through the whole thing, recorded it, and as I saved it and went back to upload it, it said that the video had no content on it. So I'm just recording this right now. I do have a list of everything that she asked me and my responses and things. Um, and so the way I took the essential question of, um, as an advanced educational professional, how do I apply data and data analysis to ensure continuous improvement plan is focused on closing gaps? I took that question right now as a teacher and a department chair. I'm a co-department chair in our foreign language department. Um, a big problem I have first off is the fact that our school really does not do a whole lot of database decision making. I think it's there, but we just don't see it, and they don't share the data very much with us. And if they do share the data, it's not in a way that teachers understand. In my classroom and with our department, I usually just do a cursory glance at the assessments to see kind of what the class average is for each assessment, and then also looking at who did not fulfill, who was not up to par, who was failing those assessments. We have in our grade book, it's easy to mark it. You can set your proficiency rate and mark every student in red that doesn't meet the proficiency. And so that's a cursory glance. And I can look at it for individual assignments as well. But the program I use for assessing vocabulary and grammar on a written and reading basis, I can look at individual questions for those things and see who's understanding what and if the majority of the class is missing things. And so I can, during our workshop time, then I can go around to those students that need those gaps filled in, and I can help them fill in those gaps and provide the individualized instruction and the scaffolding that they need to build their knowledge. With that, a lot of data I look at, I use a lot of bell curves when I look at data, especially looking at the standard deviations to the left, because the focus I always have is getting those kids who are struggling back up to at least what the class average is. And so I'm looking at who those students are and what I can do to help those students. And for a department and for me as an individual, my big desired outcome of this whole process I use is with looking at data and analyzing it is ensuring that at least 80% of my students are proficient in Spanish for whatever level they're in. So if they're in level one, they're proficient for level one, or if they're in AP, that they're proficient for AP and they can pass that AP exam. Some of the questions that Sarah asked me after this, a big one that she asked me was, since I use so many assessments, I do reading and writing and speaking and listening and culture. She asked me what my favorite types of assessment that I used were and what those assessments tell me when it comes to data. And honestly, my favorite one to do is the speaking exams, because students then are having to use their vocab and their grammar and their listening and speaking skills. And it gives me a chance to kind of see everything they know all at once with a very individualized approach with it. Instead of just looking at a test score or anything like that, or looking at the questions, I can look at them as a person and see what they know and how they're using it. And what's nice too is I can look at, I know which students are struggling and which ones are excelling. And so I can differentiate their assessments as need be. If there's an advanced student, I can ask them more advanced questions to them, and they can answer and see if they can answer those things in Spanish, if they can deduce what the answer might be. With those students that are struggling, I can give them easier ones or build them up, give them some easy questions to start, and then be asking the harder ones just to give them some confidence and see if that helps them out. So that's one of my favorite assessments that I use. The helps that I really was looking at getting from Stephanie and from Joan here, I'm going to meet with Joan later on, is first off, as a department chair, I'm in charge of four teachers. We have 3 Spanish teachers. We have 1 German teacher. And obviously that 1 German teacher feels left out because teaches a different subject than we do. I mean, a similar subject, but different language. And so how do I include him and getting his data and making him feel worthwhile? And the last thing is this past year especially, I had a lot of students that just didn't care. They did not want to be in class, or any class for that matter. And they completed maybe one assignment the entire year and were content getting a 4% in the class and failing. And just how can I engage those students and really push them to break out of that attitude and find meaning for the class. Some of the suggestions that Stephanie gave me were really looking at, let's see here. So as far as like with that German teacher, doing a lot of collaboration with them, especially looking at like the instructional strategies and the data that they use to back up their strategies. Teaching a foreign language is the same regardless of what language you teach. And so finding out what he does to be successful with certain things, or us telling him ways we teach like grammar or vocab or speaking, getting kids to speak more, bouncing those ideas off of each other to get him more involved, but also looking at the data, because since even though we're different languages, we can still use the same kind of data and the same similar assessments to see how students are progressing. And then also she tied it in really well with the second help that I needed, as far as like how do I engage more students? Looking at what strategies he uses to engage students, and he can look at strategies we use to engage students as well. Ideas she's had for how do I engage those students that are really disruptive or that just don't want to be there. She talked a lot about how with learning, we want to make it that kind of the intrinsic motivation, that they should want to learn because they want to. However, there's a lot of students that don't do that. They need that external motivation. They need those incentives, the actual physical incentives to do it. She mentioned that when she was in high school, she teachers that would give them tokens, and they'd at times during at different times of the month, they would auction off different things, and they could use their tokens to buy stuff with those auctions, or they could purchase candy or different things. I really liked the strategy, the suggestion she gave. I'm going to work a lot this year with that German teacher and getting him, finding out what strategy he uses to be successful in his classroom, because a lot of students love taking German. He always has 30 or more students in his classes, and so students like being in his class. And as far as the incentives were concerned, I mean, I'm the same way. I want students to learn because they want to learn. However, there are those students that need that external motivation to do that. And as she was talking about using tokens or tickets or anything like that to get kids motivated, I was just thinking it'd be really cool idea. I could throw in the cultural aspect and teach culture at the same time doing this. I could have actual or print out some currency from these Spanish speaking countries and do pesos, or use Guarani or these other, any kind of currency, and just have like some Mexican candy or something like that they can purchase. Or I have a lot of students that like to want to listen to music or want to eat in class, and they could use these tokens or these pesos to purchase that privilege for the day or something like that, or to purchase that Mexican candy they like to have. It was the conversation I had with Stephanie was incredible. It's always fun to collaborate with individuals, especially from other areas, and see the strategies they use. It was great speaking with Stephanie too, because she's a model we both model similar to what I do in my classroom. We both do the workshop model, and so it's fun to talk to a teacher that's doing the same thing that I'm doing, to get different perspectives on how to run it. And so I got a lot of insight from her with how she runs a workshop model in her classroom, and how I can implement that better in my classroom and also for our department. We're working as a goal for the entire school to make it a workshop school at Central High School in Grand Junction. And so I learned a lot from her on what I can take back to my school and be on the teams that I am, my instructional teams that I'm on, and helping them understand and help them implement these different practices. So with that, I thank you for listening, and have a great day.